Joanna, what do you make of all of this? Because there will be people watching this morning that will think, oh, come on, just let little girls be little girls. If they want to be a princess, let them be a princess. You know, this was something that was so common when we were younger that, you know, most of the protagonists in these stories were princesses or whatever else. What's the big deal?
Well, I think the big deal is that, first of all, it's great that when people like Gavin are producing alternatives like this and positive alternatives, because we have got to get to a place where we're presenting our sons and our daughters, because little boys are just as exposed to princess culture as little girls are, but in a slightly different way, with more limitless possibilities. That there's nothing wrong with liking princesses, but we need to be very aware that princess culture, for want of a better term, is actually a massive mass marketing, consumer-driven enterprise.
It has negative connotations, just the way you're saying it
does,
there.
You see, and that's it, like it does, because I think what we've got to get to is if we tell our little girls that they're princesses, what is our preconceived notion of what a princess is? Like all of those stories, I'm laughing at the Princess and the Pea, it's just one of many. But all of those stories have this whole thing that, you know, for a little girl, what you do is you go to sleep and you wait for somebody to rescue you. And that's your trajectory in life.
And you get married, and that's it.
And
that's your lot.
And that equals happiness. Yeah. So I think, look, I'm not saying abandon those stories. Those stories have been around forever. And there is some pro-social benefits to those as well. But it's how you read them with your daughter. So don't feel like, oh, I read those, am I being a bad parent? Not at all, but it's an opportunity to help your daughter engage in critical thinking and go, I wonder, what if you were writing this story, what would you change about it? Or what would you do? Or what do you think the princess does when she's not in the castle?
And that's what
and
I
let your daughter come up with something.
But I like the way Gavin has included not just a princess. So you can be a princess.
You can be.
You can be all of the, I suppose, the things that, you know, you conjure up being a princess and love your beautiful long gowns. And you can also be a firefighter and so on.
And that's what I love about this. It's the limitless possibilities. I mean, we already know from research that as parents, we are much more likely, in fact, 4 times more likely to, you know, urge our daughters to be cautious about doing so-called risky play and risky behaviour than we are our sons. There was a study done about on playgrounds about climbing a fireman's pole, and it showed that parents were 4 times more likely to assist their sons to try it while saying to their daughters, don't do it.
Right. Really?
So we have also internalised this princess complex.
Do you think it's
ourselves.
subconscious then? We don't know.
I think it is. I don't think anyone's out there saying I want to limit my daughter's possibility.
But then, as Paul mentioned earlier on, you know, what's the big deal in that? Even today, a little one will come in and she's twirling around in her beautiful dress and she's 3 years old. I mean, it's very hard to say, oh, you look very smart there. You know, you automatically you're going to say, you look beautiful, you look like a princess, I love your princess dress.
You're adorable, you're gorgeous.
And if that comes out, and it will come out of your mouth, and it's perfectly fine to tell a child she looks really nice, but once we balance that with, and I wonder what book you're reading, I wonder what your favourite thing you read this week is, that we don't just talk to our, and we tend to do it more with our daughters, we don't just say it's about what you look like, but it's how you are.
Sure.
That's really interesting.
Gavin, let me ask you, your little one is Jade?
Yes, she is, yeah.
How old is Jade?
She's 2 and 3 months.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you, because you more or less have, you know, a blank canvas now for your daughter, and you have an opportunity, one that you have used to, I suppose, develop her perception of the types of things she can do.
Yeah.
So when she starts to have a chat to you, when she starts to go, Dad, I cannot believe you made me, you know, the star, the protagonist of these books. How would you like her to talk to you about what options are open to her when she's younger? How would you like this to open her mind, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, so when we started off, we were dressing her up as, like we went as a zookeeper, a vet. We just were in Venice Beach and I dressed her up as a lifeguard, and we did the slow-mos from Baywatch and stuff like that.
You were actually in Los Angeles?
Yeah, we were in Los Angeles on a holiday and talking to some publishers, and we did the Baywatch scenes. And it was just a bit of fun, so that she thought that's another career that she could possibly do.
Yeah.
And it's just so that she can, you know, look back on the time and either be really embarrassed or think that was a great time with my dad.
Yeah,
So
and actually you're opening everyone's minds as well. And I think, Joanna, you know, what you're saying now is that there are still not enough examples of those stories. We'll revert back to the stories that we have 2 small kids myself. I'll read the stories that were read to me. And more often than not, they're very dated, you know.
But that's okay, because I think we can put a more feminist-friendly lean on a lot of those stories. And thankfully, there are books like Gavin's coming out onto the market. And I would say embrace that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting as well. And the best of luck, because you're hoping to publish more now, another series of 6.
Yeah, and like what Joanna was saying earlier on, like it is for boys and girls. If boys are read about or read to about strong female role models, they won't have the same when they're 4 or 5 going, this is for girls and this is for boys.
Sure, yeah.
Totally
Really
agree.
important. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Also, educating our sons, very important.
Is there a market for Not Just a Prince? Can I nick that off you?
We have been talking to people about something like that. It's a harder one to write,
That's
though.
against the
Yeah.
National
Yeah.
Men's Day. What about the National Men's Day and
sounds
Women's
good
Day?
to me. Very
Thanks
nice
so
to meet
much
you both.
for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And the very best of luck, of course.
Yes, best of luck.